G'day guys, welcome to another DIY install video. I finally decided to add a dual battery system to my camping vehicle, and because my LDV T60 does not have a smart alternator, I've gone with a cheap, simple option of a voltage sensing relay instead of a DC to DC charger. After some research and shopping around, I chose the Kickass plug and play dual battery system, which has a dual sensing VSR. There are a couple of reasons I chose this option. Firstly, because I already have a battery box that I want to use inside the vehicle. Also, my vehicle is my daily driver, so I don't want a permanent setup with a second battery in the back. I'm going to have it in the cab. And lastly, because a pre-wired kit is obviously a lot easier to install. I costed up all the parts that I needed, from the Anderson plugs to the various fuses, and I couldn't build it for as cheaply as what I could buy the pre-wired kit from Kickass. When I ordered it from Australia direct, it was only $95 including delivery, but at the moment I think it's selling for about $110, which is still not a bad price. Included in the kit is a user manual with installation instructions, a waterproof 12 volt 140 amp dual sensing VSR with Anderson input and Anderson output plugs. There's also an override switch which allows you to charge the starter battery from your second battery if anything should happen and the battery should go flat. A short section of cable to run between the battery and the VSR, which has an inline 80 amp fuse, 6 meters of heavy duty 8 BNS twin core cable with an Anderson plug on one end, pre-crimped Anderson connectors on the other end, 10 300mm cable ties, and a bag of other extras. So there's an extra Anderson plug, there's some extra fuses, some spare lugs, an Anderson plug cover, and some other bits and bobs. First issue I had was finding somewhere to actually install the VSR, as there's not a lot of space in the engine compartment of the LDV. I finally settled on sticking it to the cover of the fuse box using some extra strong double-sided tape. I figure that if the tape gets hot, it's only going to get stickier and it won't fall off. I started by attaching the shorter cable to the battery, with the red obviously going to the red and the black cable to the black. And the other end of the shorter cable has an Anderson plug which plugs straight into the VSR. You can see it's actually marked with input from the vehicle. Next, I ran the 6 meter cable starting inside the back seat of the car where there's a grommet which leads to the outside. I ran the cable all along the chassis because the end that I was running has got the lugs on it. The end inside the car has got an Anderson plug on it. It was easier to feed the end with the lugs through the grommet and then along the chassis of the vehicle. I then fed the end up through the engine bay, attached the Anderson plug and connected it to the VSR. After making sure I had enough length, I cable tied it along the chassis and cut off the tags. Finally, I tested it with engine off and engine on to make sure the switch was actually kicking in when the engine was running and turning off when I turned off the engine.
And that's the final result. The fridge gets tied to those two fixing points, the battery box gets strapped down in there, and that's the charging cable that comes from the front.